Wales Australia. The game hasn't quite finished, but I think it is finished in many respects, and we'll get into why I think that is. But we'll start at the start. I think the first try by Australia, sorry, by not Australia, by Wales was absolutely fantastic. Jack Morgan manages to make the break, to break the line, and then pops it off for the try. And if you watch this try, this is really fascinating because Jack Morgan does something really intelligent here. Usually you have forwards running on the either side of the 10 and looking for a pop off them. But what happened for this try is that Jack Morgan actually followed on the inside of Ross Tompkins and followed the inside centre for the pop off on the inside. So this was both great awareness from Jack and also Nick Tompkins. Sorry, why am I saying Ross Tompkins instead of Nick Tompkins? Nick Tompkins, Ross Tompkins. Oh, I'm scared I don't have the right name now. Nick Tompkins. Yeah, it's Nick Tompkins. I've cycled a lot today and my brain's all over the place. Nick Tompkins pops it off to Jack Morgan on the inside. He manages to make the break and at least the try. And as I said, very intelligent both for for Nick to smell the opportunity on the inside and for Jack Morgan to take the inside line off the inside centre rather than the 10. Really, really interesting stuff. Wales didn't have much more of the ball after that in the first half, and that wasn't necessarily a problem for them. They were really stout in defence. There was a couple of occasions where there were some serious line breaks, and that was specifically, for what I noticed, was against Tom Francis, who I think in the first half had a bit of a shocker. He kept getting penalised at the scrum. He was responsible for having two backs run around him and cause line breaks that almost ended in tries. And he almost got told off by the referee for talking back to him as well. He did manage to clean it up in the second half and have a much better game to probably bring his. I think in the first half his rating was probably like 2 out of 10. I think he managed to bring it back to a 6 out of 10 with his performance in the second half and winning penalties at scrum time. But yeah, really Australia just felt like they were running into a wall against Wales for both the first and the second half. You felt like maybe Australia had a chance at the end of the first half, but it required some change of tactics and attack. I didn't think they were being inventive in any way, shape, or form, and they really kind of lacked execution. You could see it with Donaldson kicking for the corner. It's a brave decision. He did it multiple times, but on one particular occasion, he missed the 5, which is just like lack of execution, really, more than anything. Then the line out just kind of missed all the players, and then Wales managed to kick it back into Australia territory. There was just both a lack of inventiveness and execution from Australia in attack. And you would have hoped that, maybe they just need to get in for half time, have a talk about tactics, talk about what they're going to change. But I don't know if this is coaching or what, but they seem to change nothing about their attack. And it showed. Wales' defence, I don't want to take away from Wales' defence. It was great. But I think the way Australia attacked them made them look good as well. It really, there was no misdirection, no nothing. It was not easy to defend. This is international rugby, and these are big boys you're tackling, but it made it easier to defend with no kind of missed moves, no sucking in players with forward play. It just felt like it was one pass, run at the defender, one pass, run at the defender, and it just seemed really easy to defend. More news for Wales in terms of Biggar. He went off at 11 minutes, and that's huge. Anscombe came in and had a really good game, I think, and played very, very well. He did a couple of crossfield kicks that were right on the money, and he really filled in well for Biggar. But on the whole, I think any rugby fan would argue that Biggar is a better player than Anscombe, so I think it's really important that they get him back. I think with this win, Wales managed to seal themselves in for the quarterfinals, so maybe this gives Biggar a chance to heal whatever injury he's had. Hopefully it's not too severe and he can be back for the knockout stages. And really, in general, for Wales, I think the main thing that I got from them was that they had a game plan, they didn't panic, and they were very cool-headed with all the decisions that they made. But they were cool in defense, although like energetic. I don't mean they weren't energetic. They just had a cool, calm head and made the right decisions in the right areas of the field. And it paid off in the end. As I wrote here, Wales going into the half had hardly any of the ball, but they still had a 10-point lead. And it was just being really calm, recognizing the opportunities when they were there, having excellent defense, and not trying to like force the game. There was never any of this like trying to run out of your own half when there's no space or anything like this, or just trying to like kickstart the offense. There was almost kind of like a confidence that when they knew they had their opportunities, they would take them. So you never saw any of this kind of like, okay, guys, we need to get the ball and we need to have some possession and build some phases. They didn't worry about that. They worried about what's happening at the time. We don't have the ball, fine. We'll play defense and we'll play defense well. Okay, we have a penalty, we'll kick for the corner. That's fine. Okay, we have a penalty in front of the posts. Okay, we only got a 3-point lead or whatever. Then we'll go for the corner instead. Everything was just really, really calm in terms of game planning, and maybe this just boils down to the difference in quality of coaching between Eddie Jones and Warren Gatland. On Eddie Jones, I mean, I feel bad for him because all of his warm-up games were like rugby championship, and like the only beatable team I think Australia had out of all those was Argentina, who they still did lose to. And then they go into the World Cup with not winning a single game. And you know, I would hope that he'd be given more time and maybe given the 4 years to 2027 for the World Cup there. But I think if you're Australian, you've got like, I mean, what hope has this World Cup given you? I mean, you're more than likely knocked out at this stage. You've really not performed very well, and it's not like there's something to build off of. You can't go, oh, okay, well, this. I mean, there's a few players. Tate McDermott's a good player, right? Who else? There are some other good players. I think the 14 was very good. Jordan Patel coming back is good too, but obviously there's Will Skelton, but he's getting on a little bit in years. I think he must be 30 now, but so he's 31 years old now. So if he makes it to the next World Cup, he's going to be 35. Yeah, I mean, you feel bad for if Australia got rid of Eddie Jones at this point, but maybe they just do it just because they've seen literally no progress. I mean, I felt like they build some momentum in the warm-up games, even though they lost some of them, and then you started to see something. But then come World Cup, and I feel like they've just kind of delivered nothing. So, what I will say as a side note, because this is probably his last World Cup, a special shout out to James Slipper. I know he came off at half time, but for those of you that have never played front row, and I have played front row at the grand old level of like men's rugby seconds, so like it's a joke. I've never played at any kind of decent level. I've never been good enough. However, I have played front row, and I can tell you, even at the pedestrian level that I've played at, being able to play both loosehead and tighthead is incredibly difficult. And you never see it at international level unless your name is James Slipper. So for James Slipper to step in and have, I mean, Australia won some penalties at the scrum in the first half when he was on, and they lost all of the scrums once he came off in the second half. So it's sensational for me to see James Slipper be able to play loosehead and tighthead at international level, and I feel like that needs a special shout out because I think it's something that kind of goes like, you know, I think if you're someone that doesn't know too much about front row or anything like that, you probably just palm it off of like, oh well, some players can play inside center and outside center, and some players can play left wing or right wing, and it's not the same thing. So it's special mention for that for sure. Yeah, and I think the game was really sealed off by Tompkins scoring. Anscombe does a lovely kick, as I've already talked about his accuracy in kicking. He does a lovely kick over the top of the defence. He recognises the fullback is nowhere to be seen back home. There's no sweeper, and that's a perfect way to make sure that a defence kind of like holds their blitz in the future. And if you can score off the back of it as well, then that's even better. So I think that was a really wonderfully worked try, and great for Tompkins to get over as well for his performance. And that's it. This probably means that Wales go through to quarterfinals and Australia get kicked out. We'll probably got Wales and Fiji, and I think that's probably the order they're going to be in coming out, which means that I think more than likely Fiji's going to play England again, which is making me pee my pants a little bit, and Wales will be playing Argentina. And that's going to be a hell of a game, actually, Wales-Argentina. Two teams who are just kind of free to do whatever they want, you know. I mean, obviously, I think there's probably a bit more pressure on Argentina considering how poor their performance was against England. But although, to be fair, with Pool C, nothing's sorted out yet, and Samoa could still come out of nowhere or something. Like, we don't know, but more than likely, I think it's England, Argentina. So it could be England, Fiji, and then Argentina, Wales. So that's going to be some interesting quarterfinals to say the least. But yeah, that's it for me for this game.